Okay, we just finished doing distance formula, so now we're going to do a thing. Oops, forgot to get my pen ready. There we go. All right, now we're doing a thing called the midpoint formula. Oops, that's an I-N-T. Oh, that looks terrible. That's okay. Let's stop the talking now. I asked you very politely, so there shouldn't be any talking. I want you to pay attention and listen. It's called the midpoint formula. I'm not going to go through the whole entire routine on how we get it, but I will do this one little part right here. So let's say you're on the road, taking a road trip in your fancy car. Here's your car right here. Looks like my old minivan. It's fancy, all right. You should see under the hood on that car right there. So let's say you're at mile marker 5, okay, and you want to go to, let's say mile marker 11, okay? But let's say you got a friend over here, and they're driving this way, all right? So you're driving this way, your friend is driving this way. Now, instead of meeting at mile marker 5 at the McDonald's or mile marker 11 at the Burger King, you're gonna meet in the middle at Chick-fil-A, all right? So here's the middle right here. Oops, what did I just do? Oh, I know what I did. Let's try this again. All right, so this is Chick-fil-A, all right? So we need to figure out the mile marker that's halfway in between mile marker 5 and mile marker 11. Could you figure that out? This is exactly halfway. It's halfway. Okay, you said subtract. All right, let's do that. 11 minus 5 is, so is this the 6 mile marker? Is it? Is it? Question mark? No. Think about it. It wouldn't be 6. Would it? Listen. Thanks. Think about it. If this was mile 6, would this be halfway in between? Because for this person, coming from McDonald's and then Burger King, okay, coming from McDonald's, they'd only have to go 1 mile, right? How far would the Burger King person have to go? 5 miles, right? So is mile marker 6 halfway in between? Not at all. Okay. Is it 7 or 8? Which one? Say it again. Listen to what he just said. And we're going to get to that, okay? Because that's exactly what we're going to do. All right, but let's go back to that 6 thing. We did go 11 minus 5. What did we just find? When I went 11 minus 5, what did we actually find? We found something we just finished talking about. The distance, right. We found the distance, didn't we? Are you listening? We just found the distance. So subtracting, we find the distance. Remember, we just did the distance formula. x1 minus x2, y1 minus y2. Remember that? That finds the distance. We're trying to find out where on this road is the mile marker that's in the middle. So it's 6 miles altogether. So how many miles is this person going to have to drive to get to the middle? 3. How many miles is this person going to have to drive this way to get to the middle? 3. Okay? So this person is at the 5 mile marker and is driving 3 miles. Agreed? This person's at the 11 mile marker and driving how many? 3 miles. So what mile marker is Chick-fil-A at? It's at the 8 mile marker. Okay? Do you see that or not? You know what mile markers are, right? You're going down the road. A lot of times, like if you're going down 95, there's this green sign. It's kind of skinny, about that tall, and it's got a number on it, right? And it usually says MI for miles, whatever mile it is. So that's what mile marker that you're at. You're at the 5 mile marker, the 11 mile marker. Okay? Chick-fil-A, if it's dead in the middle, if it's in the middle, which we're talking about, we're talking about midpoint, right? It would be at the 8 mile marker. But there's an easier way than doing it that way. All right? And Trent already said it. So tell us again, Trent, what would you do to those two numbers?
Add them both up and we divide by how many numbers.
That's right. We're trying to get 8, aren't we? So watch this. I got people not looking up here, and I'm about to show you how to do the midpoint, and you're not paying attention. If I take the endpoint, and I take the other endpoint, I'm not going to subtract them from each other. Okay? If I add them up, 5 plus 11, what do I get? 16. But that's not the midpoint. 16 is not the midpoint. What's the midpoint? 8. So what do you think I do with that 16? I divide it by 2, and I get the midpoint. Okay? So how do we find the midpoint? We add them up. Okay? We add the 2 up, and then we divide by 2, because you're finding halfway, right? Halfway, divide by 2, correct? All right? So let me show you the midpoint formula. This is basically how we get to it. I'm running out of time, so I don't want to go through the whole entire thing. But here's how you do the midpoint. Now watch very carefully. If I give you 2 points, this looks like it's distance formula, okay, at the beginning of it, but it's not. All right, so if I give you x1, y1, and I give you x2, y2, what is the midpoint of these two things? Now watch carefully. I'm just going to put MP for midpoint. Is that all right? Now remember, it's a point. It's not a distance. We're not just going to get a number. We're going to get an ordered pair. Okay, we're going to get a point. So here's the shell of my little formula here, the midpoint formula. Everybody got this? Yeah. So what are we going to do? We're going to add up the 2 endpoints and then do what to it? Divide it by 2, right? So what do you think we're going to add up? Add up the x's. So how would I do that? x1 plus x2, and do what to it? And divide it by 2. And what do we do with the y's? y1 plus y2, and divide that by 2. Right there is your midpoint formula. Write it down, memorize it. You got to keep this straight from the distance, though. This is completely different than the distance formula. But it kind of looks the same when you see the problem. Let me, I had my notes. Where did I put my notes? Here they are. Let me do an example, and we might have time to do 2 of them. I have a feeling we might only be able to do 1. So, but that should be good enough. So here's what they're going to ask you to do. Let's just watch, okay? I know there's hands up, but let's just watch. They do one with a fraction. I'm just going to make one up, okay? 5, negative 2. I don't know how nice this is going to come out. It may not come out super nice, but I can make it come out nice. Let's do this. Negative 7 and 8. All right, so you got 2 points. If you wanted to, you could graph it. We're not going to do that, okay? We're just going to find the midpoint of these 2. I'll just show you super quick, right? Where's 5, 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. There's 5, 2. Where's negative 7? 8 would be up here somewhere. If you connect them, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the point that's in the middle. You see what we're trying to do here? That's what we're trying to find, all right? But we can do it mathematically. We don't have to graph it to do it. So let's do the midpoint. So midpoint equals, put your parentheses, put a comma. Remember, you're finding a point. And then let's do this. Add the x's together. We're adding this time. What did we do on the distance formula earlier? What did we do to the x's on the distance formula? We subtracted them. On the midpoint, what do we do to them? We add them. So it's 5 plus negative 7. And then what do we do after we add them? Divide it by 2. Now, what do you think we do with the y's? Exact same thing, right? So what are the y's? Negative 2 plus 8, and then divide that by 2. And now we just work it out and see what we get. So what's 5 plus negative 7? That's negative 2. And then divide that by 2. What's negative 2 plus 8? It's 6. Divide that by 2. Put it in parentheses. That's right. This is going to be negative 1, and this is going to be 3. All right, and that is your midpoint. Okay? Now my graph was way off over here. Negative 1, 3. It should have been about right in here. Okay? But I was kind of close being that sloppy. But you just found the midpoint between 2 points, okay? That's different than the distance. Remember the ones we did just a few minutes ago? That's different than distance. We are actually finding a point. And that's basically all there is to the midpoint formula. You just, again, you have to memorize it. That thing in the yellow box right there, you got to memorize it. You got to know how to do it. So let me give you, well, let's see. What did I say we were doing today? So we're going to call this, even though I called this part C or D or something, we're going to call it this, section 3-4B. Don't leave yet. Page 132. I said don't leave yet. Why are people still walking? And then you're going to do, well, that's too bad. You're just going to have to deal with it. 7 to 12. There's your homework right there, and that's due tomorrow. Get that done tonight.